Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. It keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Hello and welcome. I thought we were going to do it at the same time.
Whoa,
I was hoping we could do it in harmony.
Jinx, Yomi.
A Coke, right?
I don't like Coke. Hey guys, welcome to the GSMC Music Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC
Podcast Network.
You're trying to beat me to it. All right, I'm your host, Cynthia, and I'm here with my co-host, who's always trying to beat me to it.
Nah, I'm just always trying to be funny.
We were actually really on point with that hello.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
that was pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll have to practice singing it and harmonizing with it. So it can be like, hello and welcome to the GSMC podcast. And then you'll be like, hello and welcome to the GSMC podcast.
You know, my voice actually can't even go that high. So I feel
you're an alto.
No, whatever that means. I have a deep voice.
It's your vocal range. Yeah.
And my voice will start to crack if I start to pitch that high. That was pretty good actually.
Thanks.
That
little falsetto.
Yeah, the falsetto.
Oh, the second one wasn't good? That's harsh.
It was. I like the first one better.
No,
was the first
whatever
one
you
falsetto?
say. No, the second one was falsetto. It's when you do this, like the Bee Gees.
Okay, there we go.
You know the Bee Gees, right?
Mm-mm.
What?
No.
You don't know the Bee Gees?
No.
Didn't your parents ever watch Saturday Night Fever?
No, my parents are foreign. They watch Telemundo and Univision.
Well, when did they move here?
Years ago. But they didn't watch that.
Okay. Well, I mean, if they moved here in the 80s before you were born, I don't know when they moved here. If they moved here in the 80s, it was really popular. I don't think that was necessarily just a Native American, native United States person thing.
No, they were here around the 80s, but they didn't engage in, American TV.
Okay.
Yeah, just even barely any TV because they were kind of both from poor families. So I
imagine they were pretty busy doing other things.
They hustling and bustling, you
know.
But what is it called again? I may have to look
Saturday Night Fever.
Saturday Night Fever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay. Disco was, disco, depending on your historical music opinion, I guess, some people consider it to be an appropriation of minority culture's music for commercialized white people music.
Disco?
Yeah.
Really?
Which Saturday Night Fever, I think it came out in the early or late 70s, and it was pretty popular up until the early 80s. Mm-hmm. I think it's got John Travolta in it. This isn't the movie podcast. Why are we talking about this?
No, I'm interested though. I didn't know that. I mean, you're giving us a little lesson here about disco and the origin and
disco is really cool. I mean, it's funny how big of a deal that people think disco was in the 70s for how brief of a time that it was actually popular. Mm-hmm. If you ask people from the 70s, 90% of them will be like, "Oh, I hate disco," because it was just kind of how would I describe it? It's kind of all of the really forgettable basic music that came out in the 90s. Mm-hmm. You know, all those kind of boring singer-songwriters and who we just don't remember.
Okay.
A lot of bands had little one-hit wonder dance things. I think rock was really the big thing in the 70s.
Rock.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, well, rock is generally better than disco, but rock is also more broad.
Yeah, I actually agree. I mean, I'm not too familiar with disco.
But without disco, we wouldn't have hip hop or neo soul or a lot of dance music. We wouldn't have that disco. In fact, some of the first acid house music was made primarily using samples from the band ABBA. And the band ABBA, the people who, or I think they owned the copyright or someone else did, they sued for a cease and desist on the distribution of the music that had sampled them illegally. So the band that had sampled them illegally bought an entire warehouse worth of their vinyl records and then like threw them into a pile and burned them like publicly as a publicity stunt. It was pretty hardcore.
Wow.
That's the early 90s techno scene for you.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Where did you learn all this stuff?
Yeah.
Is it because you're a music major? So you?
No, I just like know stuff, I guess. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, like I wish I could remember like half as many important things as I can useless things. Because that information, like, not useful. But like remembering what homework is due and what class when I was in college would have been great. So
I feel like that's how everyone is.
Brain.
Like you always like, for instance, for music, we always learn the lyrics to our favorite song way quicker than, you know, things we have to actually study for in our hard classes.
Oh,
at least that was for me. Like I can pick up on lyrics quickly, and then when it came to whatever test that was coming up for me in college, like I just flew out blank.
You better believe I know all of the lyrics to Smells Like Teen Spirit, but have no idea what the endoplasmic reticulum does.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
The endoplasmic reticulum is it's an organelle, as in an organ inside of a cell.
You know a lot of things here. I'm like, wow, mine blown. Anyways, thank you for all of those interesting facts, Keith.
That feels so dismissive.
No, I'm not trying to be dismissive. I actually like really like when you like start talking about kind of the origin.
Oh, thanks. I like it when you start talking too.
Shut up. Anyways, let's get into.
Anyways is not a word. It's anyway.
Whatever.
I am in full dad mode.
Yes. Let's get into our first. I mean, I guess it's like music news. There's not too much. Yeah, there's not too much going on right now.
Yeah. Most people are making a big deal out of the Oscars.
Right. It's a slow time in music. And I think we mentioned this in the previous episode. So I just pretty much went to Twitter and I'm like, what's trending under music entertainment? And I found this story of Rebecca Black, and depending like when you grew up, what generation you're from, you may know who Rebecca Black is, you may not. She was kind of like, she had one, I don't even know if you call it a hit song. I guess it was a hit song because it was so bad. And it was to...
Is it kind of like a trash film, but for music?
A trash song, yes. And it was for the song titled Friday. Now, I think this song came out 9 years ago, so that is in 2011. So I was in high school. And I remember when the song came out and so many people were like mocking her and mocking the song, but it was catchy nonetheless.
I feel like this song and Call Me Maybe came out in like the same window of time. And like Call Me Maybe was so much worse than this song, in my opinion. Like they're both just like unapologetic prepackaged pop crap. And like it's funny that Rebecca Black caught so much flack.
So much. I mean, she was only 13 when that song released, and she didn't write it. She didn't produce it. What I didn't like about that song is that it's extremely auto-tuned. Like, I don't even want to recite.
Do you like T-Pain?
I like him live. Have you ever listened to him live?
Yeah, he has a Tiny Desk concert that's not terrible.
Yeah, but no, he is super auto-tuned. I wouldn't say I'm like, yeah, but he can actually sing. Like, T-Pain
I'm not surprised. I feel like he uses auto-tune as an instrument in a lot of his music.
Right.
Whereas like other people use it as a crutch. So who knows what Rebecca Black was trying to do. I haven't heard this song in ages.
Friday. I actually tuned into it this morning just like to refresh my mind. And I had to stop 30 seconds in because the video or the music video was so cringy. And the lyrics
I haven't
so
seen
terrible.
The music video.
Oh my God, you're going to die. Like I could not finish. I think it's like 3-4 minutes long and I only could watch 30 seconds and I had to turn it off. I'm like, okay, I've had enough. But so going back to Rebecca Black. So the 9th anniversary of this viral trash song, Friday, I think it was like a few days ago. And Rebecca Black posted a statement via Twitter on how it affected her growing up. And it definitely caught me by surprise because I feel I definitely was part of that culture and mocking her and mocking this song and I not realizing the negative effect it had on her like mental health. And she was extremely candid with her followers and fans about her like mental struggles growing up with that terrible song hanging over her head. And I'm going to read to you guys. I'll read part of her statement because it is pretty long and I'm not trying to lose you guys. So it goes. She posted on Twitter. 9 years ago today, a music video for a song called Friday was uploaded to the internet. Above all things, I just wish I could go back and talk to my 13-year-old self who was terribly ashamed of herself and afraid of the world. To my 15-year-old self who felt like she had nobody to talk about the depression she faced. To my 17-year-old self who would get to school only to get food thrown at her and her friends. To my 19-year-old self who had almost every producer, songwriter tell me they'd never work with me. Hell, to myself a few days ago who felt disgusting when she looked in the mirror. I'll read the whole thing, actually. I'm trying to remind myself more and more that every day is a new opportunity to shift your reality and lift your spirit. You are not defined by any one choice or thing. Time heals and nothing is infinite. It's a process that's never too late to begin, and so here we go. When she posted that, she got a lot of love from her fans and followers. A lot of people were retweeting the statement saying, like, we love you. Some were even apologizing, saying, I'm sorry, like, I was a part of that culture and mocking you and this song. Again, myself included, not realizing, the negative effects of essentially just like cyberbullying, mass bullying. That's what it kind of how I took it and reflected on the statement. I was like, wow, like it's kind of crazy growing up with the internet, and it's kind of scary. It's pretty scary growing up in the internet. I'm glad
where anything that you record and put online could be there forever and like could randomly be discovered like 5 years later, and then all of a sudden everyone watches it. Like there's at least 1 to 2 YouTube videos of like my band from when I was a kid that are somewhere out there, and like I'd feel pretty awful if someone found them and was like making fun of me, and I'm a 29-year-old adult. So I think it's interesting in like the age of internet and the age of the ease of accessibility to like musicianship, because musical instruments are at like they're cheaper and more accessible than they ever have been. The internet makes it super easy to learn most instruments that you want to learn. There's lessons for literally everything that are available for free online. So in this age of like this ease to create music, everybody becomes an even bigger critic because suddenly a lot of the allure and the mystery of creating music is accessible to the general populace. So like in 1970, whatever, when Led Zeppelin came out with a record, it was like 1 out of every 100 people played guitar in a way where they could like imitate something that Jimmy Page did. But like now we probably have like 15 out of every 100 people who can play a guitar solo from a Led Zeppelin song. So I don't think the amount of talent has necessarily increased, but the amount of access has increased, which like makes people think that it's not as special anymore. And then the internet has this really great way of giving us a place to like other individuals, as in like make them less than human. So when you combine those two things, now suddenly you've got a crowd full of people who are there to criticize you instead of a bunch of people who are there to like say nice things. Like it's not as if Friday is that much worse than like Mickey. Like, oh Mickey, you so fine, you so fine, you blow my mind, hey Mickey. Like it's not like that song. That song is like pretty awful. And I hate that. I feel like I just keep on naming off like songs by other female artists. I'm trying to think of something by
a male artist.
Yeah, a male artist that's just as awful to listen to. Like, I'm
sure there's some.
There are some. They're not at the front of my mind, but just in general, like, it's not as if anything that's come out under the sun is like all that different from anything else that's come out. So I think it's just funny that like this became a trope and this became something that people made fun of. But I think we should take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk some more about this.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
guys, and welcome back to the GSMC Music Podcast. I was literally laughing now because I was waiting for you to interrupt me. I was just waiting for you to barge in right now.
Hey guys, welcome back to the GSMC Music Podcast.
Oh my God. I saw this meme on Twitter where it's like, it's right now what just happened. It's like when you say a joke and then someone else says it louder and then everyone laughs at their joke. I probably didn't say that joke right because it was funnier when I read it. So
No. You're total. My girlfriend has that happen to her all the time because I just hear her joke that nobody else heard and then I say it
louder.
And I'm like, yeah, because, well, no one hears it because she's not, I don't know. I have this really big booming voice. It's a blessing and a curse for sure.
But that was funny. That was literally just happened right now.
This is me whispering, literally.
Whispering?
Yeah.
I feel like I get loud and I get excited. When I get really excited, I start like, my voice starts going up and yeah.
That's most people.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's get back to Rebecca Black. Friday, she released that statement. Kind of scary.
Wait, did she release that statement on Friday?
Oh, actually,
be hilarious if she did. I hope
that
song came out on a Friday too.
I know.
They should have just like hardcore leaned into it. Which I just want to say that song is like budget Kesha. Like Friday. I made that joke during the commercial break when Cynthia and I were chatting. But yeah, budget Kesha. That's funny.
Let's talk about, because we were just listening to a couple of her songs now, because she has definitely matured as an artist. Her voice, she can actually sing.
Of course.
And you even said, you mentioned the production in the song.
Was
pretty good.
Yeah, her singles are kind of like, they still have that like polished, prepackaged pop feeling to them, but they do it in a way that feels a lot more like accessible and like, I guess, real. Like, it almost feels like, I don't know if she wrote the songs herself, but when she sings them, it feels like she did. It feels like she's like invested. Whereas like Friday, you can just feel like she just doesn't want to be there, you know?
Right.
And understandably, it's really not a good song. It's also not really written for her vocal range.
It's not.
Which is hilarious because like listening to her singles now, she's got this nice, like kind of like lower soprano voice. That's really nice. And then in Friday, she sings like this alto part that's like way lower than what she probably would have sang it at.
The song that I specifically wanted to hear from her, or chose to hear, I even went on YouTube and watched the music video for it, was Sweetheart. And that song released on October 2019. And I think that's like the song she's promoting a lot right now because it's actually pretty good. And the video concept was pretty impressive as well. It wasn't anything too crazy. Sweetheart, it was pretty much she like kills this guy.
Yeah, don't call me sweetheart.
Right. Yeah. But I thought it was like a cute little idea. I don't know if you guys have seen the music video for Sweetheart for Rebecca Black, but I actually recommend it.
Give her a chance.
Yes.
Yeah. If you like that kind of stuff, if you're into like I don't know, I'd call it like classic mid 2010s female lead singer pop. Like if you're into that, then this feels exactly like that. So it's definitely like channeling a certain kind of vibe. It's got like I feel like it would be, the instrumental portions could be in the intro to like a video.
Right. Yeah.
For like a motivational speaker, you know, it's got kind of that like very specific synth pop sound. It's nice. Yeah. It's definitely much better than Friday. So, and she definitely deserves to have like a voice in the overall like music landscape. I mean, she's certainly much better than a lot of other artists.
Oh, I think 2020 will be her year. I think this is a year where she's really gonna start putting a ton of music out. Maybe an album. I'm not sure she has a complete project out yet.
She has 3 singles that came out last year.
Yeah, singles. So I'm expecting an album from her, possibly this year, maybe next year. But I'm excited to see what the future holds for her in her music endeavor. And moving on, so I am now going to share with you guys the hip hop pick of the week. I will
hold up before we move on too far. We talked about the Oscars. I wanted to mention that just give a shout out to the best original score.
Score?
Yeah, so the best original score, like the best original soundtrack, gets an Oscar.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so Hildur Guðnadóttir, probably the G's probably silent. Juanadottir. I don't know. I don't know where she's from. She's from Iceland, which is why I have no idea how to pronounce her name. She won for her original score for The Joker.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I listened to several of the compositions from that album, and I was very impressed. They really kind of like capture that like frenetic feel and like that like slow descent into madness. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I haven't seen the film yet still, but regardless, the soundtrack was definitely interesting. So I really enjoyed that. So I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that before we got too deep into talking about other things.
There we go. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, we're going to be talking about the Oscars in the movie podcast that we do, but I didn't include that in the notes, so it's very appropriate.
Yeah.
You got it covered.
I did.
You saved the day.
And I interrupted you while I did it too, so it's just right on par with what I normally do.
Right. All right. Can I go back to what I was going to say? Anything else? Any more interjections by Keith?
Well, I mean, Valentine's Day is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have like a suggestion for a song for somebody to put on there?
I'm going to share at the very end.
Oh, you're waiting till the end for yours?
Wait till the end.
Okay.
I'm going to make you guys wait for it. So stay tuned to the very end of this episode because I think, Keith, you should also pick a love song you want to share with everybody.
Wait, is it a love song or like what kind of love song?
Or love album. Any.
Like,
I have one.
Like Sweet Tender or like
whatever,
like Marvin Gaye, like
whatever you would like. But they gotta wait till the very end of this episode to find out. So
a little teaser.
Exactly. But again, so let me share with you guys the hip hop pick of the week.
Wait, hold up 1 second.
Oh my God. That was like you're playing me now. You're definitely playing me.
I have an album, a hip hop pick of the week. It's not in the show notes.
Do you want to share first?
Yeah, it's Pop Smoke Meet the Woo Volume 2.
Oh my God. Anyway, so he beat me to it. That is my hip hop pick of the week. Pop Smoke's new album,
Meet the Woo Volume 2. That was nice. We did it. Yeah,
okay.
There we go.
So this album just released on February 7th, and Meet the Woo Volume 2 is the sequel to his 2019 mixtape, Meet the Woo. And he's a fairly new artist in the hip-hop music industry. These are the only two projects he has out right now. And this specific album was produced. He had many producers, actually, for this project. Yaz Beats, 808 Mellow, Juju on the Beat, and many more. I didn't want to list them all because there were seriously, like, I think 15 or 16. But
that's pretty standard for these, like, generic rap albums.
But these guys were like Yaz Beats, 808 Mellow, and Juju on the Beat. They were the three main
contributors,
right, to the whole project. So that's why I included them. And I definitely will say this style of hip hop. Did you listen to like a song at all?
I listened to about like 3/4 of the record.
Okay, it's definitely not music you would hear on the radio. It's not mainstream.
Well, that's because it's like incredibly explicit and pretty much the entire time is like demeaning a very specific demographic by talking about how much this person can manipulate that demographic. But whatever. You know, standard rap stuff.
Yeah. And this is like definitely like hardcore gangster rap, East Coast rap for sure. There's a heavy New York sound.
Wait, this is gangster rap?
Mm-hmm. This is considered gangster rap.
Weird.
Gangster rap.
I always thought gangster rap was supposed to be kind of like rebellious. Like this just feels like it fits very comfortably into like, hey, do you like, you know, like the regular traditional style of hip hop that is ultimately very benign and doesn't actually reflect reality? Then this might be for you.
Well, I think it's, if you really listen to like his lyrics, he talks about like the streets a lot in New York. He references to like a couple of, gangs in New York, but all that to say, he did say I'm a Brooklyn guy, isn't that? Yeah, like he's from Brooklyn. You're like, I'm a Brooklyn guy, but that's kind of like their sound. It's like East Coast trap. Like I feel like it's a very distinct. This is not a hip hop album. Even if you're like a big hip hop fan, whatever, this sound is not for everybody. I would pick to listen to these songs like only on my gym playlist, like when I'm doing heavy legs. Pop Smoke I enjoy because I mean you've heard
heavy leg on leg day we pop smoke.
Exactly. There we go. Oh, that should have been the title of today's podcast. No, but for real, I highly recommend this album for your gym playlist. This is not hip hop I would genuinely like generally tune into like on an everyday basis. It's a little too much for me. Again, it's like hard-hitting beats, very aggressive, explicit lyrics. Again, it's like that New York sound. And many of the features throughout the album, many of these artists are from New York as well, such as A Boogie with the Hoodie, Fivio Foreign, and Lil TJ. They're all from New York. So I think he just wanted to kind of stick to that sound, especially so this is like his first real project. Meet the Woo, the first one, is a mixtape, but this is like his first real, I guess, deluxe album. He just released a deluxe album. I'm not sure if it's this one. The deluxe album has like 16 or 17 songs.
It's a deluxe mixtape.
Well, he calls it an album. He calls it an album? Yeah, he calls it an album.
Okay. I feel like mixtape is just like the trendy,
it's shorter, right.
The trendy way to say this is an EP or like this is an LP. Like, I feel like there's really, like, mixtape is just kind of like an ethereal, general term for this is a series of tracks. I just want there to be something specific and concrete about a mixtape. Usually has 6 to 8 tracks at this length, and it's like, that makes it different than an EP, but it just feels like people throw the word mixtape out there because, like,
I feel like it's interchangeable.
It's like false nostalgia.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not going to lie, you even heard like 3/4. You don't need to hear the entire album to know that it's literally like almost the same song, similar beats throughout the song. However, there were like a few songs that really stood out to me. One of them, or a few of them, being Invincible, which is the very first song in the project, which I think it's perfect, especially for like the gym playlist. He even says like, I am invincible, and like when you're in the gym and you're in that mindset, you're like hell yeah, like I'm invincible, I'm gonna have a good workout. And then another song that I really liked from him was called Christopher Walken, and this is him comparing himself to Christopher Walken's 1990 crime character from the film King of New York, Frank White. Which
that's a nice reference.
Right. So I was like, oh, like I think that's why I like it, just because of what he's referencing to. And I like Christopher Walken. Yeah. As an actor. And then two more. Dior was another favorite of mine. Dior, that was actually a single, and that's the song that helped him gain a lot of popularity. And final one, Mannequin. This one, did you listen to Mannequin? This is the one I hoped you would have listened to. It samples Ariana Grande in the chorus throughout the song, which is pretty unexpected because you would never think like Pop Smoke, Ariana Grande collab. They're just like two completely different worlds, two completely different sounds. However, in Mannequin, I really liked the little dazzle of Ariana Grande harmony, I guess, in the background of the song. I think it just was a good contrast to, like, again, the hard-hitting beats throughout the song. So I think out of the entire project, Dior, Christopher Walken, Invincible, and Mannequin, for sure are my favorites. If I had to rate this album, honestly, it's not my favorite. I would probably give it like a 7, again, because it's not really like it does anything too different. It's East Coast rap, trap music. If you like that sound, you'll probably like this album. Yeah. If you don't like that sound, you probably will not enjoy Pop Smoke, because that's kind of his whole shebang.
It definitely feels very like East Coast and like something that you've heard before. It's very nostalgic. Like, I wish that he had leaned a little bit harder into that like nostalgia feel and maybe changed the production a little bit, because it has this like polished production of like in a way, it's like if Usher did gangster rap is kind of how I would describe it. Because it's like, Usher? It's got this, well, like everything that's in it, all the instrumentation, very clear, very pronounced. Like, it doesn't have that like sloppy, like I'm super stoned and I don't care type of production to it. It has this kind of like Western, like Tupac kind of like
Biggie
production. Yeah, a little bit of Biggie. But like even Biggie, a lot of Biggie Smalls songs were like just they felt like sloppy. And that's part of what like makes East Coast rap feel kind of like interesting and unique to me, is that it's kind of like you can tell that they just they're intentionally trying to make it seem like they don't care, which I think is a really cool vibe to go for. Mm-hmm. And like, I didn't get that from this record as much as I wanted to. And then, like, again, like Cynthia said, like, if you've heard East Coast rap, you've heard this record before. Right. Like, it's not like it does anything super special. It's not a bad listen. If you like that genre, you'll like this record.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, this is an album you should listen to on shuffle in a mix with other hip-hop artists during a gym playlist. I feel like if I were to just play this throughout, like, I was actually getting a headache when I was listening throughout the 13 tracks. I had to like stop at like track 6. I'm like, okay, let me like digest what I just listened to, because it was a lot.
It's very aggressive.
Yeah, explicit lyrics.
And not even it's not even aggressive in a good way, in my opinion. Like, it just feels aggressive for the sake of being aggressive. Like, the whole thing feels like what guys do before they get in a fight with each other. It just feels like he's like puffing up his chest and
he's
being like, look how cool I am.
I was going to mention that he definitely gasses himself up big time throughout the entire like project. Like, I'm from New York, I'm from the streets, I got a gun, I got girls, literally that's pretty much
that's a line in every song.
Yeah.
I've got a gun, I've got girls, and I'm from New York. Like, okay, dude, cool.
But I don't mind listening to it when I'm working out, because like I'm really just in it for the beats.
Yeah. Each song is kind of like a single, you
right?
know? Like,
yeah,
you really only need to listen to one or two,
and you'll get the whole thing. Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like we're both on the same page.
It's funny. I didn't think we would be, but yeah, we definitely are.
I mean, it's a slow time right now for music, so it's pretty hard for me to kind of choose like, what am I like really new music that I'm enjoying right now. We may need to do like a throwback episode, because
there's just not a ton of stuff coming out right now. That's really cool.
Right now is very slow.
Yeah.
And I think we should take a quick break right now. And when we come back,
I disagree. I don't want to take a quick break right now.
We're gonna need to.
No, I want to do it right now.
What? We're going to take a quick break, okay?
Wait,
Keith,
right now?
Right now.
No,
Keith,
right now?
Yes, right now. Keith is going to share his top picks when we come back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Not going to do the thing. No.
I was waiting.
Welcome back to the podcast. It's the music podcast, in case you forgot.
I know, you're like, the podcast. They're like,
this is the podcast. It's the only one that you should ever listen to. That's not true. Listen to the other one that we do. And then listen to the ones that we do individually, too, because like, I'm sure Cynthia's is super cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I haven't listened to your solo podcasts yet.
My solo?
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
You know what? I forgive you, because I haven't listened to any of the sci-fi.
That's okay. I feel like, do you even like sci-fi?
I feel like I'm open to it. Mm-hmm. I'm open to it. I wouldn't say like, no sci-fi, because I engage in sci-fi material whether I know it or not.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things are, I didn't know this really until I started like working with you, but a lot of material is, and like things that I engage in through social media and movies and just content is sci-fi or some level of sci-fi. But I guess I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. If you want to know about intermittent fasting, check out the Health and Wellness podcast.
Oh, I actually do want to know about that.
I give my honest opinion about that.
I intermittent fast.
Do you?
Most days, yeah. I'm actually kind of a OMAD person.
Oh, that's what...
I'm a 1 meal a day type of guy.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm actually doing more research on the OMAD diet so I could talk about it.
Oh, yeah. I don't do the diet. I just like to fast in general. They're like about once a week I won't eat for 24 hours.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Everybody's body's differently. Again, this isn't the health and wellness. If you want to check that out.
I've heard it's better for men than it is for women, too, because the hormones that your body releases are super different. Yeah, because my girlfriend tried it. And
you need to be on you need to be a guest on my health and wellness one. So
I know it doesn't look like it right now because I'm taking a break from the gym because I just suddenly got lazy when I turned 28. But I lifted weights from when I was 13 all the way until I was 28 pretty regularly. So I've done strength training, and my girlfriend is taking her NASM test next week. So
God.
I know like all of the stuff that
good
she
luck
studies.
to the girlfriend.
Yeah, her name's Brandy. You
Good
give her a shout
Brandy.
out. Yeah, I'll let her know that you gave her a shout out.
Yes, if she needs help with her test, I know.
Oh yeah, I'll shoot her your number.
Yeah,
She probably has some
NASM as
questions. Oh, okay. Anyway,
I know.
Personal conversations aside, welcome back to the
I know,
podcast.
welcome
Sorry,
back
guys.
again. I forgot you guys were there.
Yeah. Anyway, so this week my anti-radio pick of the week, which is what I'm calling all of my records that I choose because people usually don't hear these songs on the radio, is the new Destroyer record, Have We Met? Did you get a chance to listen to this?
I haven't.
That's okay. I didn't add it to the show notes until super late because I am a bad co-host.
You're terrible.
Thank you. I appreciate the honesty.
I'm kidding. But tell me more. Destroyer, this sounds interesting.
Yeah, so what's funny, my favorite thing about Destroyer is that their sound feels like it has nothing to do with the name of their band, which I think is awesome. So, like,
what do you mean by that?
Like, if you hear the word Destroyer, you think like hard
metal.
rock band metal. This is not that at all.
No?
This is like even when they first started in like 96, I think. Yeah, they started in 96. This is Have We Met is their 12th studio record. They have always kind of had this sound that tries to capture this like specific mood, and like sometimes they do get a little like rock and rolly, maybe like kind of like tread on the edge of like post rock, but with vocals. But they've never really done any like hard rock or metal. The band is led by a gentleman named Dan Bijar or Bahar. I don't know exactly.
Behar. That's how I want to say it.
Yeah, that's how I want to. Yeah, Dan Bahar.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry. That's much more fun to say than jar. Dan Bajar.
Well, that's the thing. I just like read words, and I immediately like want to pronounce it how it's read in Spanish.
Yeah. Well, you also in your sentences, you'll order them in the way that you speak Spanish too, and a lot of English second language learners do that. When I was tutoring, they would put like the adjective before the word.
Yeah, and I get mixed up.
Yeah, which is funny. I think that's a more effective way to describe something. You know, anyway.
I think most languages out that are not English do that as well, like or similar to Spanish. So.
Well, I mean, most languages that aren't English are just like superior in terms of like the way that they like the mechanics of speaking them are just easier, or just more conducive to describing things. There's more vocabulary available and more like specificity. So I think it's hilarious that, people think of English as being like the language. It's really like anthropologically, it's kind of a crappy language. So very confusing, difficult to learn. Anyway, back to the music. But then another interesting thing about Destroyer. It's basically a solo project. So Dan Bahar, is always rotating band members, even though he'll sometimes say like, oh no, this guy's going to be around for a while, I swear. And then like the next record comes out and that guy is nowhere to be found. So I think that's pretty funny.
He just boots them out. Like
I don't know if he boots them out.
You come in.
Maybe. I have no idea. But basically each record that they've done, he kind of wants it to like stand alone. So there isn't a ton. He wants to feel like there's not a ton of continuity between all of the sounds that he makes for the records. To be completely honest, he fails pretty abysmally because, like, I've heard Ruby is a record by Destroyer that came out in the early 2000s, and then you listen to Ken, and, like, Ken is way better, but it's just a different version of what he was doing in Ruby. So I think it's really funny that he says, like, oh, no, they're all supposed to be different. Like, it just feels a little haughty for him to do that because they're really not all that different. This particular record, Have We Met, has gotten a lot of great reviews. I think that there's a little bit of a bias towards it because a lot of the people who are reviewing it are probably like my age, and this record feels a lot like something that's targeted for people who are my age because he deals with a lot of specific themes about like the idea of getting older and feeling more distant from like pop culture and from other people.
Interesting.
And like, you know, you're in your mid-20s too. Most people who are in their mid-20s, like you start establishing your life and your career and like your relationships. You might get married. You might start having kids. Like,
I'm gonna get anxious right now. All this anxiety creeping up.
Well, you might start doing all of those things because like, you know, your late 20s is like it's kind of the time that people do that nowadays. Like the average marital age is more towards the 30s. So is the having your first kid age. But like most of my friends who are gonna get married and have kids have already started to do so. So like, there's just this kind of like profound, odd sense of like distance and like this change of lifestyle that happens. And this record deals a lot with that, especially like in the lyrical content, but also in like the instrumentation of the record. He does a really good job of like kind of creating this space that makes you feel like things are fake and not real. And you're kind of like struggling with like, well, what is real and who am I and who am I in relationship to other people? Like the opening track does a really good job of that. I enjoyed
like this concept.
Yeah, it's a nice record. I don't know. Honestly, so I have a friend who he kind of has similar taste to me, but he doesn't like a lot of the like more like sad lion is what he would call it, sad zoo lion kind of stuff that I like, where it's like a lot of like existential dread. So he would call this Naptime music because it's like really slow and sad or maybe not sad, but like, I guess contemplative would be the right word. So it's like slow and contemplative, and he's trying to say something meaningful without like being grandiose about it. And he does a pretty good job. So I don't know if you would love it, but I think that you definitely should check it out and like.
I know, I definitely am.
At least give each song like a minute and see if you like it.
Is this a type of record that it just makes you very pensive and you just reflect on life?
It can be. I would definitely call it like cooking music is how I would call it. Yeah, because like if you're just like cooking a meal by yourself for yourself, but like let's say I'm at home and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna be good to myself tonight, and I'm gonna make, you know, like spaghetti sauce from scratch and some meat and like make a salad, and you're just kind of like doing something slow and like meditative. Then like this is great for that. If you don't need to be motivated, then yeah, this is really good. A good record to listen to. I wouldn't want to fall asleep to it personally, but that's just me. But yeah, I think it would make you a little bit pensive. It's definitely very like self-reflective.
Yeah.
It kind of like puts you in like a very like internalized, like I'm in my head thinking about these kind of things type of mood by like it has these nice like ambient sounds. And he does a really good job of creating this specific atmosphere using like themes from a lot of different genres, and especially like the minimalistic late 80s hip hop. He kind of gets a little bit of that from, like he's got a song in there with a slap bass line in it, but he does a really good job of like kind of making that very subtle. So overall I was pretty impressed. I definitely like some of his older work a little bit more, but for different reasons. So the record that I would mentioned earlier, Ken, that came out in 2017, I would say that's still his best, in my opinion. It was really good. I think he ended up like touring with all the like the standard music festival circuit with that. So it was definitely good. But overall, I'd give this like a 7.5 to an 8.
7.5 to an 8.
Definitely worth a listen if you're into like that kind of like not on the radio, slow stuff. If you like the band,
AntiRadio Pick.
Yeah. If you like the band Wilco, you'll like this record. So, yeah, we'll probably listen to a Wilco record at some point.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. I'm open.
And then real quick, I have another recommendation that we're going to just talk about super, super briefly because I seriously doubt that many people are going to be interested. But I wanted to mention it because it's been getting a lot of press on like the music review websites and music blogs. People really like this record. So it's a record by a band called Blood Incantation. Yes, that is a metal band. And the record is called The Secret History of the Human Race. I didn't make you listen to it. Did you listen to any of it? Mm-mm. Okay, so it is death metal. Yes, no, it's definitely metal. This is only their second studio album, I would say that these guys are kind of like the Sleep of death metal. Sleep is like this super slow jam band. They're stoner metal.
Stoner metal. So it's 420 music, 420 friendly music. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, it's different than like the 420 music that you're probably super familiar with because it's a totally different vibe. It's kind of like if you took Tool and then slowed their songs down to like 80 to 100 BPM and then just jammed on them with a ton of big guitar solos and like some light vocals. But this particular record I really enjoyed. It's kind of like a new space for death metal because it has a lot of like the technicality and the speed that death metal has in the instruments, but the vocals take like a back seat. So the vocals aren't like, you hear them, but they're not the primary focus like a lot of death metal bands like Lamb of God or Gojira. Both of those bands, the lyrics kind of are like front and center and the singing is like front and center. This one, like the instrumentation is kind of front and center. Mm-hmm. So I really liked that because like a lot of people who aren't into metal, they have a really hard time being like, oh yeah, I like this singer because it's just like a lot of like, ugh type of stuff. So I think that this is a really good like entry point if you're interested or curious about getting into like that kind of music.
It's like a to ease into it.
I don't know if I'd call it easing into it. This is definitely like jumping into the deep end, but you're not diving into the deep end and you're wearing water wings. So like you're definitely going to get like soaked, you know, you're not just dipping your toes in, but it's pretty good. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. Blood Incantation, The Secret History of the Human Race. The album cover is super cool too. So, but before we get going, I think we were going to tell them about like our favorite
love song or love
songs
pick, because Valentine's Day, Galentine's Day, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah, I just celebrated Galentine's Day with my friends.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Galentines,
right? Or if you just want to celebrate with yourself at home,
yeah, self-intines,
exactly. Self-love, self-indulge. I highly,
you might want to be careful with that phrase, but
I highly recommend mushroom chocolate.
I thought you were going to say mushrooms.
No. Mushroom.
Like, this is PG.
No, I swear. Mushroom chocolate with Quinn and Black. And Black meaning the artist whose name is spelled with the 6 and then Lack, but it's actually pronounced Black. So
yeah, I've heard of this guy.
Yeah, so mushroom chocolate with Quinn and Black. They actually released the song last Valentine's Day. They created a Valentine's Day playlist, and Black actually included this. It was actually Black's Valentine's playlist, and I added it, and this song was on there, and I'm like, I'm obsessed. It's just very, here we go, my favorite word, vibey. But no, I really do recommend it. Mushroom chocolate. Play it with your boo, with your man in the car, with your girl in the car, or again, you can, like, if you're taking a nice, like, I don't know, a bath at home, light some candles, play the song in the background. So highly recommend. Even just the title, mushroom chocolate, like that just makes me want to buy a box of C's candies and like just.
That's a very suggestive title.
Mushroom chocolate.
Yeah.
It makes me kind of hungry. It makes me like want chocolate and cuddles. Literally. Okay, that's what I think.
But mushroom chocolate sounds disgusting. Like imagine taking a bite and there's like a mushroom. It's covered in chocolate.
Yeah, that would be pretty nasty. Do you have a recommendation?
I do. I have 3, depending on the vibe that you're going for. Okay, so your cheesy romantic song suggestion, Honeybee by The Head and the Heart. It's super darling. Just like the cutest song you've ever heard in your life.
Honeybee. Okay.
Yeah. Honeybee is how it goes. Yeah. So, and then if you're feeling kind of like in a morose mood, but you want something romantic and you're like by yourself, All I've Ever Known by the Bahamas. Great song. It's like real slow, very like guitar based. Oh, it's beautiful. I was just listening to it last night. It has this very like sad romanticism to it. So like if you are single on Valentine's Day and recently single and you want something kind of like sad to like put you in the mood of like mourning or like you're just trying to be in that space.
Okay.
All I've Ever Known is really good. And then if you're looking to get down on Valentine's Day, the way that you should be celebrating Valentine's Day, in my opinion, I Been by Ari Lennox. I love that song. That is my jam. Like,
Lennox. Yes.
Oh, it's just so good.
Okay, I'm so glad I put you on to her.
I know. Yeah, you really got me into like neo soul. I'm super interested. Every time I see an artist in that genre.
I love Ari Lennox.
Yeah. So I highly recommend that song. Those are my 3. Honeybee, Head in the Heart if you're looking for something cheesy and corny. Like if you're proposing to your girl on Valentine's Day and like she just likes that super fun cute, like you gotta give Honeybee a shot in case you already have like our song. You could also try Passenger Seat by Death Cab for Cutie. Oh man, I'm gonna cry just thinking about that song. It's so beautiful. Ben Gibbard singing a love song. Oh, it's so great. Anyway, Honeybee, Head in the Heart, and then if you're sad and by yourself but you want something romantic, All I've Ever Known by the Bahamas, and then if you're looking to get down, then I've Been by Ari Lennox. So
there we go.
I think that's all we got from this week, right?
That was a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lot we covered today. Rebecca Black, Pop Smoke. Who were yours again? AntiRadio
Destroyer.
Pick. Destroyer. There we go.
And
Destroyer.
Blood Incantation.
Blood Incantation. And our love song picks.
Yes.
And
highly recommend.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you guys liked what Keith and I had to say, if you enjoyed Keith interrupting me every 5 seconds.
Doing what now?
Yeah.
Wait.
Doing that.
What?
Don't forget
Now I'm really trying to.
Oh my goodness.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Share.
Tweet.
All of that. Comment.
Review. I wish we had an email so that we could get like fan email and read it on the show. We need to ask.
That
we
would
need to
be
ask them
so
about that.
funny.
I know.
Or like
It'd be
just
great.
questions in general. Or like
I know.
Thoughts. That would be. Oh, we gotta bring it up.
Yeah.
We gotta bring it up to the owners.
The people who run our network.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
anyway,
you guys,
that's all. Have a great week. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, Galentine's Day.
And just so you know, whether you're single or you're taken or you're in a committed relationship
or
you're
in a
married
situationship.
or a situationship, like Valentine's Day is more about love than anything else, and self-love is more important than anything. So make sure you love yourself on Valentine's Day.
Come on, Keith.
First. And then,
Preach it, baby.
you know,
Preach.
it'll overflow. So
Preach.
you should feel good about yourself no matter where you're at. And like, you know, make a playlist for yourself if you need to. So have a great Valentine's Day, everybody.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.